Welcome, everyone. Welcome to another Astral interview. And here with me, I have Guru Pashupati. How are you, Guruji?
Namaste, I'm really good.
Namaste to you as well. I'm really excited for this interview. I've been watching many of your videos and getting to know, I felt like the new kid on the block until the first time I saw you, it felt like the new kid on the block, but then there's videos on videos that I hadn't seen yet. So I guess you just reached my my feed somehow. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I got serious about it 3 or 4 months ago,
Right.
and then we went at it with my team, and now we've got some visibility now, which is great.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I'm really happy for that. So before we do anything else, let's just talk about you and your childhood a little bit. Tell us about your childhood, where you grew up, the surrounding areas, what influenced you.
Well, I had an incredibly complicated childhood because I was born into poverty, into a slum.
Right.
And then I also had a speech problem because I got electrocuted when I was a kid.
Electrocuted? How'd you get electrocuted?
I just opened the panel out of curiosity. I was maybe 4 years old, and then I got badly electrocuted, and I lost my senses. And when I came to, I had lost my speech as well. And I had a very severe stutter, and it was just not worth talking. So I used to write little notes to people to communicate. And that was incredibly hard because it led to a lot of bullying by other kids. And it came to a place where I had to get into my house from the back door, climb the neighbor's wall, scale the neighbor's wall, and then come into my house to avoid the kids waiting in the front, who were turning increasingly violent. And I didn't help matters by trying to fight them back, because then one day they really humiliated me, and at knife point they made me they put my face into a cake of cow dung and made me sit in the gutter while they played cricket. So I had to sit inside the gutter with some rats for company.
Oh my
And I was really angry with God. I was really angry with Shiva. I said, like, how can you let this happen to me? I'm like your greatest devotee, and you let this happen to me. I don't know what to say to you, man. I was really pissed off with him.
So wait a minute, you were his greatest devotee at age 4?
Not age 4. This was around 12.
12, okay, but you were his greatest.
Yeah, but I also was his greatest devotee when I was a kid. At least I thought so. And then, yeah, there have been times when this devotion has been tested, but I think I did okay. So,
so what was,
that's when I found. Beg your pardon?
What was the influence that made you Shiva's greatest devotee? What was that influence?
I don't know. I think it was my parents in the beginning, but they have recordings of me when I could speak early, when maybe I was 3 or something, and they're asking me what I want to be, and I'm saying I want to be a sannyasi. And I didn't know where that came from, but that's what I ended up being.
A sannyasi is a devotee, correct?
Sannyasi is a renunciate, somebody who doesn't do the regular things like get married, have kids, or go to a job, but somebody who works for society without having any selfish goals, because that's what I wanted to be.
So let's go back to your Slumdog Billionaire story where you were.
Oh, no, I'm not a millionaire by any means. I don't have any personal assets. It's all the NGO. So anyway, on that day when I got smeared with cow dung all over my face, I started to pray to Shiva, and I said, like, I don't deserve this, man. Why are you doing this to me, And so Shiva sent my guru. He was right there, and there was a man with a big shining forehead, and he said, get up. I'm going to teach you how to fight, because you fought really well, but you don't know anything about fighting, so I'm going to teach you. And then he taught me, and then he told me that he's an assassin from Nepal, who's hiding in Bangalore. And meanwhile, he's doing the job of a watchman. And I was like, wow, okay. And so I went to him and I started to learn from him.
Weren't you
He would call
scared
me at
being
5.
that he was an assassin?
No, I thought
Oh,
that's good. So he can really teach me how to fight because I really needed it
okay.
back then. I was beyond being afraid because I was beaten up every day. I just wanted to
I
solve the
hear you.
problem.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was afraid initially, which is why I used to scale the wall. But the day I decided to face my fears, I got beaten up really bad. And then, and then he had a very strange way of teaching me. After teaching me some basics and strengthening my arms and knuckles, especially, he made me uh, beat my knuckles with a piece of wood until I heard crackling sounds, and he said, "That's very good." And to this day, they're like really solid. It's like steel. So then he taught me how to punch someone, how to kick someone, how to move out of the way, and things like that. And then he said, "Okay, you're never going to learn fighting without fighting, just like you're never going to learn swimming without swimming." So he pushed me to go fight someone. He said, "You go to that guy and abuse him. Say something to him." And I was like, "Don't you see I have a speech problem?" And he said,
Yeah.
"Yeah, writing and abuse won't be so good. You go and spit on his face." So that's what I did. I went and spat on his face too. And then they were obviously upset. So, but they weren't upset enough to beat me. So I wanted them to beat me. So I spat some more. And then the guy started to beat me. And then I kind of beat him up with what I learned. And this is an adult and I'm just like 12.
Right.
And then his friends, one of his friends whipped out a knife and I got really panicky. I froze. But then I managed to turn and run at the last moment, but he leaped and slashed me, and I still carry the cut on my calf. That was the first time I got cut by a knife, and this guy was nowhere to be seen. So I went back to his room where I said he's like lying down there. I said, "What? You just abandoned me there." So I said, "I thought you'll make it," and he said, "If you didn't make it, you are not worth teaching anyway."
Oh my
And I
God.
was like, "Wow." And then he made me do this 300 times, and then he left as mysteriously as he arrived.
What made
And I
you do
had,
what 300 times? Fight with people, 300 different people.
yeah, 300 different people. It was crazy. Like, I learned a lot.
Oh,
Yeah, I
learned to
just
be
learned to
beat up a lot.
beat people also, and I learned to survive fights with multiple people,
Right.
which was very exciting for me at that time and a source of great power and confidence. But then I got involved with the mafia because of my abilities. They wanted me to work with them, and I was working with them for some time.
Okay.
Luckily, I didn't do anything too bad because I was a kid, and they didn't let me kill anyone, and so I didn't. But I saw a lot of bad things happen, and finally, somehow, with my aunt's help, who was a cop, I managed to get out of the clutches of the mafia and then start over again.
Right.
By this time, my education had suffered a lot, and I wasn't really into it anyway. And I had already become an entrepreneur by then. And then I met an
Your
entrepreneur.
English is very good, so
Yeah, I guess that's the only thing I learned in school until because that was useful. So I learned
yes,
it. And I don't know what cos, sine, and tan is. I have no idea.
sine and cosine.
Yeah, I just don't know what they are. And I've never had to use that in my life. But what I learned is how to be with people and how to inspire people to work together like a tribe. You know,
Right.
I was inspired by the cave paintings. You know, the more I studied it, I saw that people had painted what they wanted to hunt. And they probably shared that vision with each other. So I can picture my ancestors showing the vision that, this is what we want to do. And so I used to do that. Because I can't talk, I used to make drawings of what we want, show it to my team, and they get excited. And then we go hunt that mammoth. That's exactly what
Interesting.
we do even now. And then I had a long journey throughout my childhood. I was earning more money than my father, mother put together. I bought them a
I
house
have
when I
to
was just
I
18.
have to get some pointers on you from that for that.
I guess it's just wanting to serve. So that
I
that
hear you,
makes
yeah.
you money because I saw gaps in the market. I started working as a cycle repair assistant. So people with their bicycles would come there and I would repair it for them. I loved the work, but it was paying too less. So
Yeah.
I got another job, and this time as a butcher's assistant. So I learned how to cut meat, skin animals, make different cuts and things like that. And then I got a job as a priest's assistant in a temple because I'm
Priest.
Brahmin.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can also do pujas in the temple. And so I was working in a temple after that.
So
And
for
then I got
those
bored
who
of
don't know,
too.
for those who don't know what a Brahmin is, maybe you could tell them what a Brahmin
A
is.
Brahmin is the priestly caste among the Hindus, also considered the highest thing to do because he is a teacher of the Vedas. And the
Right,
Vedas are our spiritual textbooks.
right.
So a Brahmin is somebody who has knowledge of the Vedas and teaches it to people so that they can get their spiritual growth and whatever, right? So my dad was one of them, and he taught me some of the stuff. And so I was working in a temple, then I left that, and then finally I got work in a UPS factory. So a UPS is an uninterrupted power supply, also called an
Yeah.
inverter, which converts the power from a battery into alternating current for you to use your devices, run a few lights, etc. Because back then India had a lot of power cuts. And then I found that that was somewhere where I like to work because I was doing all the soldering, making those cable forms, and I was liking the art of making these things.
You
But
was
then I
being,
realized I'm being paid so much less than the guy who sells it. Like I was being paid 200 rupees to make one of those, but he was being paid 500 rupees to sell one of those. And I said, he's just talking. And then my boss said, well, if you think it's so easy, why don't you go sell some? I said, okay, I will. And I said, I can't lug this whole thing around on my uh, bicycle. Like the other guy had a vehicle in which he could lug that around, but I can't do that. So I went to a merchant and I told him, I asked him, he had a sari shop. And I said, listen, man, how much money are you losing when you have power cuts? Let's do the maths today. And he's like, okay. And then he did the math. And then he found out that he was losing 8,000 rupees every month because of power cuts, because
right.
of low footfalls of customers. And I'm like,
There's
man,
your
that's
sales
crazy.
pitch.
I said, my UPS costs only 5,000. Why are you not buying it? He bought two. He bought one for his brother and one for himself. And then I learned how to sell it. So I taught a few of my friends how to sell it. I inspired them with the whole vision that we can be richer than our parents. And they got so happy and they started working for me. So I didn't have to do anything really. These kids would go make sales and I got commissions on top of that. So
Yeah,
I opened up a company, and in India it's so ageist. They don't let 13-year-olds open companies. You have to be 18. So I
right.
found an 18-year-old to be the proprietor, and I threatened him, and I said, if you do anything with the money, I'm going to kill you. Because I didn't believe in contracts. And then that's how I became an entrepreneur. That's my first company. And then I met a very amazing entrepreneur who later helped me along my journey by correspondence. He would write me letters when I had doubts and he would mentor me.
Like someone
So
in India or someone abroad?
someone abroad who lived in Hong Kong at that
Okay,
moment. So it would take like 2 or 3 weeks for his reply to come, but it would be good. And when I
right.
applied it, I would see results. So that's what I did.
Nice.
And when I did that, I started to grow in business. I founded India's largest corporate training company among many other companies that I founded. Also, India's largest martial arts company. So I was a chain entrepreneur until until my teacher came back again. He came back again actually when I was 18. I had
You,
already,
you say your teacher, your fighting teacher.
yeah, the same guy.
Okay,
So, and this time he came back in another different form. He came back when I was 18. I had already become an entrepreneur, and there were no challenges for me that were, that I could get excited by just at 18.
right.
I didn't know what to do. So I thought maybe I'll try leaving my body because I was already
Wow.
practicing
There's so many
pranayama.
things an 18-year-old would choose to do to get excited about. You choose leaving your body.
Nothing more exciting for me to do.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't interested in girls, and I wasn't interested in anything else. I was only interested in entrepreneurship, and I kind of reached the peak. That was the dot-com boom, and I had a graphic user interface company that was making graphic user interfaces for websites, and we were just rolling in money. We didn't know what to do with it. So then I decided that I'm going to try and leave my body and see what happens. because then I held my breath for as long as I could, because I had already reached the 8-minute mark, and then there would be a point where I say, if I wait another second, I'm going to die. You know, I would reach that threshold in about 8 minutes. So this
Would
time
you
I
say
said,
it's the
hold it.
fear that made you think you were going to die, basically? Your fear kicked
Yeah,
in.
it's not a fear, but it's more like a reflex, you know?
Okay.
Like if you put your fingers down your throat, you have a gag reflex.
Yeah.
Just like that, you have a reflex to breathe. You can't control it.
Right.
So I said, I'm not going to fight that reflex. I am going to fight that reflex. I'm going to let that happen.
Right. And if I die, I die.
If I die, I die. If I just want to be out of body, I know I'm not this body. And I did find myself out of body, completely painless. I was looking at my body and it was all turning blue. My fingertips, my nails were turning blue. And I said, wow, that body is gone. Okay, what next? But this is nice. And I can be wherever I want to. There's just no trouble. I don't have to listen to scoldings from my dad. And I was pretty happy. Then the bell rang and I started getting pulled back into my body and I didn't know what to do. I wanted to stop myself getting back into my body. And it just happened. And I found myself back in this painful, oxygenless body. So I was breathing real hard, trying to get the color back in my nails. So much pain. But the bell had rung and I wanted to know who the hell that was who rang the bell, and I got back into my body. So I went on my fours to the door. My father had already opened the door. And there was this beautiful yogi standing there, really tall and extremely radiant. And my father was like, whatever you're selling, I don't want to buy. And and I said, Dad, he's not selling anything. So then he said, okay. He communicated telepathically. He was just looking at me like this. And he communicated telepathically. He said, you go do the normal things, okay? Go get married and stuff. He said something like that. And I was like, what kind of advice is this? I don't want to get married. I know how that sucks. I've seen my own parents' marriage, and I've not seen anybody who has managed it, and I don't think I'm that intelligent.
Right.
But since this guy told me, and I said, will you come back for me? And he said, yes, I will. But you have to wait, and you'll have to do normal things. You have to respect people. You have to respect what they do. Just because things come easy to you, you can't be. You basically told me not to be arrogant.
Right.
And I said, okay. That's okay. I hear you.
So this is this yogi. I just want to ask you this question: is it the same Mahavatar Babaji that's in the picture that I see? Is
the
it
first
very
time
similar?
he came as an assassin, and the second time he came in another form. And I didn't know it's the same person until years later.
Right.
But I could feel the energy was the same because I thought it was this guy back again, this assassin guy who we used to call Julke, which in Nepalese means brave.
Okay.
That's it. So Julke, I thought it was Julke, but then I couldn't really recognize him because he was looking different. He was looking taller, and Julke was almost bald. He had a big shining forehead all the way till here.
Yeah.
But this guy had nice thick hair, and I was like, wow, I need to know this hair trick. But but then I said, okay, I'm going to do that. So I went and did it very cheerfully. I went and I married the first girl who agreed to marry me. And I told her, listen, my guru might come back anytime, so I'll be going then. That's great because I don't want to be married forever either. I just want to escape my parents, troubling me to get married and have kids. And I know that you can say no to kids. And I said, yeah, I don't want kids either. And so that's how it was. And then, finally he came.
In heaven.
Yeah. So I was married for 9 years.
Okay.
And it was quite a bit of suffering, not that great. Yeah, it was quite bad. I'd become alcoholic by the end of it because I just didn't know what are we doing together? What is it? Because there seemed to be no frame for this relationship, and the frame seemed to be decided every day afresh, depending on how she feels. And I was like, wow. I'm just going to cooperate, and I don't care if anybody thinks I'm a pushover, because I know that my guru asked me to do this stuff, so I'm just doing it.
So how did you decide he was your guru? I guess you decided that from the very first time you met him, and that he guided you through all that process already.
Yeah, I mean, why else would he show up when I was out of body, pull me back in the body
Yes,
and go
yes.
over here, right? So I thought, yeah, I better listen to this guy. There's something good gonna happen in my life. So I listened to him, and I was also afraid that I would become too arrogant and just die out of my own hubris. But it didn't happen, fortunately. I got married, that's very humbling. And so it cured me of a lot of that arrogance, and it kind of refined me and made me gentle and kind. And that's exactly when he came back when I was 32, and again he made a dramatic entry into my life, because I had just done the last rites for my father-in-law, who had died in the US, and his mother, who heard he was her favorite, and when she heard he was gone, she died too.
Oh, no.
So I had the ashes of these two people, and I had brought it to the Ganga to do the last rites, and I was alone because nobody else would do it. He had only two girls, and in India, girls can't do the last rites of their father. So I did it, and then the Pandit said, "Listen, if you do the last rites of your wife's father, then you're going to become her brother." I said, "I already am," and I
Right.
kind of texted him and I said that this is what the Pandit said, and she said that's okay because we already are like brother and sister. So I
Right.
said, good, because there was really no romance, no spark, no nothing going on. Okay. So when I when that was over, I was just sitting there. I'm like, wow, what a weird day. I became my wife's brother. I've just cremated my father-in-law and his mother. I mean, I'm not cremated, but I've done the last rites, and I don't want to leave this place of death
Well,
because there's a
by definition, you were living the life of a sannyasi in a sense.
already I was actually feeling at home
Yeah.
in the place where they burn the bodies. It's called Manikarnika Ghat, where people come in queues to be burned because they think that that's the sacred fire of Shiva, which it is.
Right.
And they're going to, just like the Parsis have a sacred fire, our sacred fire is in Varanasi. So people who get cremated with that sacred fire, they go straight to Shivlok and they stay with Shiva, apparently. And I don't know what they're going to do there with him. The last thing I want to do is live with Shiva. I want to live here. So, but I was just watching and I found it fascinating that they stuck the nose with something and the ears.
Yeah.
And then because of that, pressure builds up inside as things boil inside the brain, and then it goes pop. So
I
I
don't
was
understand that.
well,
Explain that
the
to me.
cranium explodes. The cranium explodes because they block the nose and they block the ears, and
Yeah.
then they cremate the body. So then the fluids inside the brain get heated up, and they start to boil, and
Yeah.
then the steam from that cracks open the skull.
Right. But why
And
do they, after the body's dead, what's the point of doing that?
because they want the soul to leave from the top of the
Top
head.
of the head.
They don't
Oh,
want the soul to leave from the other
any
holes
of
because
the
they
other
won't
openings.
get a human birth again. It has to leave from the top of the head. So everybody's waiting for the skull to crack. I was also waiting for other people's skull to crack who I don't even know. And there were a lot of mosquitoes. I was just swatting mosquitoes and sitting there watching the whole thing. And then from far, I saw this shining person coming again. And I got really excited because I recognized this energy once again. And I
It's your
jumped off
guru.
from where I was sitting and I went running to him. And he looks at me and he says, "Have you waited long?" Have you waited long? Yes. So from the age of 18 to the age of 32. That was pretty long, according to me. 12, 14 years, 14 years, you know. And then he's like, okay, go close everything, close your company and come back here and then we'll go to the mountains. I said, wow. So I came back. I closed my company. I have filed for divorce and I gave my ex-wife everything, then I left because I didn't have any material possessions. I just had a little bag
Right.
and one pair of clothes. And
Okay.
then when I went there, I even discarded those clothes. And then I walked naked all the way to Nepal. And I was surprised that because when you're with my guru, you don't feel any cold. Even if you're walking through the snow, it's really easy. You don't feel a thing. And you're not hungry, you don't need to eat. So I was like, wow, what is this energy? And I was like, I was pinching myself to see if I'm awake or dreaming or what. It seemed like a big dream. And I was there for 18 months, and then I wandered along the Himalayas, and I took a few months to come back to Varanasi. My guru had given me a bag, and when I opened the bag, there was 3.5 lakh
Wait,
rupees.
you went to the mountains, right? What happened at the mountains? Like you guys just went there and
Lots of things happened. I think I got trained.
you think you
I
got trained. Did
because
you?
half the training happened when I came back. I
Okay.
got half my training, I think. So I was trained also in martial arts there.
Okay.
I learned some very, very deep martial arts from a woman who was like a goddess, who was invited there by my teacher,
Right.
and she taught me martial arts. And
So
I
is there
came back.
something about you having to be on a higher level elevation so that I don't know, more spirituality opens up to you at a
Yeah,
higher
for sure,
level?
because the Himalayas are not only on an elevation, it's also on a fault line.
Okay.
And you can see there's weird magnetism all over the mountains. And it's a different energy up there.
Okay.
It seems almost like a dream world. You can't tell the difference between reality and a dream. And I just met so many incredible sadhus and even beings from other planets who would come to see my guru, because apparently he's the Samrat. Samrat means emperor of 18 planets. And there were all these weird life forms coming to meet him. And
When you were on the mountain, when you were up there.
so I learned some interstellar diplomacy. That's what I learned.
And
It's
so
like
wait, when you were up there, so he invited you up there to be part of this galactic meeting or whatever that was going on up there.
yeah, I was just hanging around doing my meditation and my kriyas and helping out where I could help out. I was just serving.
Right. And he was there for whatever he was
And
there
well,
for.
to be of service, I had to sit there, and I didn't have any trouble understanding what the other beings were saying, because it was that kind of space.
And when you say
So,
Sadhguru, you mean this modern day Sadhguru that's doing
no, I didn't say Sadhguru at all.
okay,
I did not say the word Sadhguru.
okay.
But it's interesting that I mean, Sadhguru actually means
True guru.
now a brand.
Yeah, it's now a brand. Let's carry
Yeah.
on with your story for now.
Yeah, well, so that's what happened. And there's a lot of things I learned. Some I can talk about and some I can't.
Okay.
But after I came back, I had promised my guru that I'm going to teach yoga, but then he told me, don't teach. I'm like, what? I went through all this to not teach yoga. And he said, no, you can't teach now. Because I want people to become truly atheistic, and then you're going to teach. And I'm like, when's that
Atheistic,
going to happen? Yeah, atheistic.
meaning they
Like,
don't believe in God.
meaning they don't worship God anymore.
Oh my God.
So I was like, when's that going to happen? He said, there'll be a time when there's no prayers offered in temples for 30 days, and then you can teach. And I was like, what do I do till then? So don't you have things to learn? You don't know anything about women? Go learn about women. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, and then he told me also to convert to Islam
Wow.
for 2
You
years. So I did. I became a Wahhabi Muslim. He made me do that, and then I would go to the mosque and I would have discussions late into the night about the Quran. And basically, I told everybody that, you guys have nothing to worry about, because because to not believe in Allah is shirk, and that means you can't worry, because you're saying your worries are stronger than Allah if you worry.
Right.
Worry.
Right.
So that means if you do that, we're all haramis. So let's not worry, is what I told them. And they got very worried about me. And he said, Bhai, ab Sufi ho, you're a Sufi.
Yes.
You get away from here, don't come here. So I got thrown out of.
You figured out you were a Sufi. That's better.
I didn't figure out. I got forced to be a Sufi by the Wahhabis. They told me, you are Sufi, okay? We love you, but you don't come here.
That's funny.
I said, okay. So then I would hang out in cafes and people would come to meet me, and all that happened, and all right, great. And then Baba says, from today, you're going to be a Christian.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, thanks, Baba. And then I went and became a Christian, and I became a Catholic.
Oh,
And
wow.
for some time, it was called Adam. And that time I was in Mysore and I was going to church and all that. I did that for almost a year. And then he said, no, you're going to be a Buddhist. And then I went to Thailand and Sri Lanka and I was hanging out with the Buddhists. I said, are we done with this yet? And he said, no, no, you still have to become a Sikh. And so my mom had by then converted to Sikhism. So she kind of took me along and taught me some stuff. And she was very delighted that I wanted to be a Sikh too. And so I was a Sikh for some time. And that happened. And then finally, he let me become Hindu again. So I said, okay, now can I be Hindu? And he said, okay. And then a few years after that, COVID struck. And on August of 2022, it had been a month since prayers
August
were...
of what?
August of 2022.
Okay.
It had been a month since prayers had been offered in temples because they were all closed.
Right.
And then he showed up again. And this time, after having 70 relationships, I was in another really bad relationship in Goa. And I was trying to set up home with this girl and it was not working out. So I was like, how can I just stop having girlfriends? Is there anything more left to learn? There's nothing to learn here. So then he came back and he said, you come to the mountain. And I came, there's a mountain in Goa, the place, I forget the name of the place. But I went and he was right up there on top of the hill.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, I'm going to teach you now about karma. So take out the karma, see your past births, see who you were, and see who everybody you've been with were. And it was very revealing to me that why some people behave badly with me, why do some people behave so nice, and all of
Did you
that.
ever find out why you were beat up by all those kids?
Oh, yeah, of course. I found out all that and I said, wow, I have a lot of work to do for all the bad that I've done in the past. And incidentally, I had a past birth in Persia. Anyway, let's not get into that. Okay. So, and I always had this affinity to Persia. No, I kept wearing lapis from Iran, and I kept wearing, I kept wearing desert stones all over. So anyway,
you went to the mountain. You saw him there.
Yeah, so I in a flash I saw all of my past births and all of these things, and then he said, okay, now you can go and teach. And he said, it's not going to be easy. Okay, you're going to take you'll figure it out soon, he said. I said, soon? When you say soon, it was 14 years the last time. So I had no expectations. Right. But in 3 years, I figured out how to raise a team. And now when I realized it was really hard to raise a team because this team are millennials and Gen Z. And they don't know how to work hard, okay? So I had to teach them. Yeah. I had to teach them how to work hard. And they started working hard after 3 years. And then we're seeing some results of it. So that's the journey so far. I'm trying to teach some genuine Siddha yoga now and
so now,
succeeding.
How did you get to from that seeing him on the mountaintop and going through your past lives to becoming a full Siddhi who knows yoga and can teach all these kriyas?
Well, I always knew it, but he didn't let me teach it, right?
Right.
So I came back when I was 34. And now
I guess you got it from your dad, who's a Brahmin, right?
No, I learned this from my teacher from the age of 32 to 34. I was with him. So that's when I learned Siddha yoga.
Okay.
Like the yoga of accomplishment. Siddha means an accomplished person.
Okay.
So it's hard to accomplish things in this world by using real rules, real stuff that works, keeping it real, you know. So that's what I did. And then yeah, so I started teaching, but it was very difficult to teach like he predicted. It was really hard because people were coming at me with all sorts of states of mind that I never even knew could exist.
So give me an example. What do you mean by states of mind? That
like doing things that they don't want to do, for example, like going to a job and like, oh. And it's so common that everybody's doing it. I'm like, wow, how do you guys expect to be happy when you just don't know what you want? And so I was like, okay, let's try coaching you. And they would just fall back. And it's only recently that I found out that I need to get people back in nature and then they can learn. And I've been very successful with the past 200 students. I've trained
Just
more
by
than
taking
5,000
them into
students.
nature. You take them into nature.
Yeah, not taking them, but instructing them and them following it out of respect, and they're doing it. So I make them get a lot of sun. I make them sit outdoors like I am right now, and I make them work from outdoors. I make them put their bare foot on the ground, uh,
Good.
and things like this, which is now getting very popular as quantum biology. And I'm like, wow,
I'm having a
science is
deja vu
catching up.
moment.
Science is catching up with yoga.
Science is
So,
catching up with yoga.
which is why I don't wear clothes, because our body is photosensitive.
So what's the story behind the tattoos?
Oh, this is Garuda. Garuda is the eagle,
Yes,
and this is the owl.
yes,
They're both vehicles of Lakshmi and Vishnu,
right.
respectively,
Yeah,
two of our gods. So I wanted them. I wanted to be this bird that carries them.
okay.
So I said I'm gonna put them on my shoulders so that they can sit on my shoulders always.
And what about your name, Pashupati or Guru Pashupati? Did you give yourself that name, or did Babaji give you that name?
No. Baba gave me that name because he said the yoga that's going to be taught in this century is called Pashupati Yoga, and
Because isn't
it was
Pashupati mean the Lord of animals, or the protector of animals, or protector of
leader.
beasts or
Leader.
something?
Pati means leader
Yeah.
also. Pati
Okay.
can mean husband, protector, leader, lord,
Okay.
a lot of words. Okay. So in this context, it means the leader of animals to help people lead themselves out of their animal nature
Right.
of being born and dying, being born and dying, being born and dying. This is the most animal thing to do.
Yes.
But when we say liberation is from death
Right.
and not mortality, A lot
Right.
of people want to get liberated from life and death, from the cycle of life and death, but that never happens. You get liberated from death.
Well, the Sufi way is to die before you die, right?
But we don't die.
We don't die, no.
Yeah, when I asked my guru what is death, he said it's sheer irresponsibility. That's what he said. So I said, okay, I'll try not to die. I'll remember.
That's funny.
So obviously, I'm also an expert on health.
Right.
Because when you're healthy, you don't die. So I know a lot about health. So I cured a lot of people from chronic illnesses, but I don't want to do that anymore because it's really simple to do.
It's really
Just get
simple to do.
just get them out in nature and they get fixed.
It's true. Yeah, nature is really miraculous to bring.
Yeah, I mean, if you immerse yourself in water till your neck and then you sit there for an hour, most of your clock timings come back and your hormonal misfirings get corrected. And what has been treated as a hormonal problem, and people have been made to swallow thyroxine and insulin and all sorts of things, they can come off those medications if they would go immerse themselves in a river and just keep their head out.
Oh, interesting.
So simple. I take 3 to 4 swims a week in the river Kaveri.
Yeah.
And I don't even work out that much, but I'm really fit because of this.
Right.
I don't even eat much. I eat 1 meal a day.
You eat 1 meal a day, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes 1 meal in 2 days.
Okay.
I think I can reach the place where I don't need to eat at all.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, 1 meal a day, people do 1 meal a day fasting and
Fasting's really good for you. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been trying to fast this month. I've been fasting this month, the Ramadan way. Yeah, it's okay. So we talked about your name. Okay, let's talk about when an individual is looking for a guru. There's 100 different gurus online these days. There's no one guru to go to, or somebody will tell you to go to this guru, another will tell you to go to that guru. And how does one determine the authenticity of a guru? How does one know that this is a guru that I should go to, or this one I shouldn't go to?
You feel grateful to a guru for what they've done for you. And
So it doesn't matter. The guru doesn't matter, right? In a sense?
Of course it matters.
It matters.
You will become like the guru.
Okay.
So take a close look at the guru and see if you want to be like him or her.
Okay.
Yeah. Because if you follow a teal swan, for example, you're going to become like teal swan.
Right.
And if you follow Sadhguru, you're going to become like Sadhguru. If you follow me,
Right.
you're going to become like me.
Right.
So follow the one who you want to be like. And
Right.
I wanted to be like Mahavatar Babaji. So, I mean, and he came to me. I'll tell you what.
I mean, you just
If
look at Malta's photo and it's all you need to, like, I get emotional just looking at his photo. So
yeah.
so
It's very powerful. I'm planning to make a painting of him myself. Earlier, I thought I'll commission the painting, but I said I'll just brush up on my art and I'm going to do it myself because I'm not able to convey what I want painted unless I make a painting. And if I make a painting, then maybe I can get an artist to make a really good painting of it.
right.
Because I just feel even the paintings we have right now don't do full justice to him. It has to be much better. And of course, he's changed. This painting is it's about 100 years old, the one we see now. It's time to upgrade it.
So talk about the different schools of yoga then a little bit so people can get an understanding.
Well, yoga, I have learned 6 schools of yoga, and they're all immortal schools.
Okay.
They're all schools which teach immortality. So there's Vajra, there's Aghora, there's Giri, there's Nath, there's Naga, and there's Siddha. Am I missing one?
Naga is the snake.
Naga. Yeah, Naga comes from the snake people.
Yeah.
And then there's yeah, so those are the immortal schools.
Okay.
But then I would distinguish yoga by its function. Like, what do you want to do with the yoga? What do you want to do with the yoga?
Treat it like a science?
Yeah, so for most people, it's the science of the mind, where they can go in and manipulate the mind and have different kind of spiritual experiences. For some people, it's a worship of God. For some people, it's a way to get mukti and escape from this world, live in the middle of chaos and still be calm, things like that. But I'm not attracted to any of those.
Okay.
For me, the only thing that draws me in is the promise of an immortal life. Right. I'm in for that. I'm in for healing my body faster than it decays.
Yes.
That's what I do. And that requires you to have purpose and to live purposefully. And that's the fun part. That's the fun part.
So you have to have an engagement in the material life in order for your spirit to...
Yeah, for sure. I'm not running away. I'm here, you know. Yes. I've done a lot of living in the jungle, and it's fascinating, and it's fulfilling. And you really don't need society when you live in the jungle. But then it gets static after some time, and it's not growing. There's no new experience, and you've learned everything you've got to learn in the jungle. It's only when you come to more human beings that new worlds open up.
Right.
Animals open up worlds too. But it's not as fascinating as a world that a human being can open up.
So this idea of human beings are animals, right? Because Pashupati means guru of animals or...
Yeah. We start off as animals. We're very much caught up in the cycle of birth and death.
Yes.
By the time we become adults, we've learned how to damage ourselves every day more than we heal. Children are immortal because they heal faster than they damage themselves.
Right.
So there's a stage where we lose our immortality, and we shrink our own reputation. When we're a child, our reputation with ourselves is very good. We can do anything. But as we grow older,
it's important to stay childlike then.
Yeah, we should expand our reputation. We should think better of ourselves, because you can only dream as big as your own self-reputation. Right. And that's what in the West they call self-image. We call it swamurti. That's very important, your self-reputation. And that's going to limit you. That is going to limit you, because you can't do anything outside of the limits of what you think about yourself.
So
That's something.
somebody in the West, how would you communicate to them the importance of what yoga is?
They don't have any trouble. I have a lot of foreign students.
Okay.
So I've even got Muslim students, I've got Christian students, I've got Jain students, and they're all learning. Because
It's a new
if
experience.
you watch my videos, you'll see I'm very down to earth, and I always
Yes, you
talk.
are.
So I'm always relating it to things that exist in their life. So if you want to explain something new to someone, you just have to start with what they know, and
Right.
then you use analogy
Yeah.
to explain another concept to them, or you use inference, or you take them through an experience, which
Yeah,
is
you've
proof.
even mentioned quantum physics in your.
I'm a quantum physicist.
Are you a quantum physicist? We'll talk
Yeah,
about
yeah, yeah.
that.
Yeah. So I was going to get into a lot of serious research. I
Yes.
managed to complete school and college without studying
Okay.
because of my people skills. I just made friends with the attenders and the staff, and I got them to give me the question papers, and I would distribute it to all my friends. So that we can all get good marks, because the highest thing that school and college teaches you, the best thing that you can do is get a first rank, stomp on all your friends, and stand first. We're not doing anything together. I said, let's do something together, man. Let's all get good marks. So they
Right.
said, okay. So my school got like 100% results and all that because of me, and they thought it was them. Because when I left the school, it went back to the same old results because same old teachers. And yeah, and so when I reached this subject of physics, I was very fascinated because my father was a physicist himself, and he
Okay.
was working in the Indian Institute of Science by the time. Of course, we all started off in a slum, but even my father improved a lot. He went very much deeply into science, designed dish antennas, and he was an expert in radio communication and robotics as well, and an upcoming subject at the time called mechatronics, where it was the rudimentary stages of both AI and also robotics. So he used to teach a very specialized subject on robotics, and I had access to the library of the Indian Institute of Science
Wow.
in Bangalore, where I could use my dad's library card and read whatever I want. So I would just cut classes, come there and read. And over time, I understood quantum physics very deeply. I started working with some of the pioneers, my father's friends, in the Indian Institute of Science. I would sit with them and understand stuff, have discussions, come up with definitions, and it was an exciting world until I realized I don't want to do it. Because I wanted to do art. Suddenly, I wanted to be an artist. So I went to art college. I'm also a sculptor.
Okay.
So when I studied art for like 5 years, stood in that college and studied art. And then I was selling my paintings for a while. I even sold my paintings to the Maharaja of Mysore, and of course, he's no longer he's no more.
You'll have
But
to share some of those paintings with me so I can put them in the video.
Okay, I'll try and find some. I really don't know where anything is because I don't have any. I left everything here and went.
Right.
When I went second time to the mountains, I stayed there for 7 years. So I came
Wow.
back here and I said, I don't know when this thing is going to happen. People are turning atheistic, and puja is not being offered, and I don't know when that's going to happen. So I'm just going to live in the mountains. So I went and lived in the mountains, and some crazy things happened there. The girl I was living with, she got cancer of
What?
the thyroid,
Yeah, yeah.
and I got type 1.5 diabetes because of the stress. And I also got Hashimoto's and 13 other chronic diseases. And I was like, interesting turn of events. Now I have to become a doctor. So I became a doctor. I don't have a doctor's degree, but
You had to heal yourself, basically.
I could have a discussion with any doctor
Right.
about a chronic disease, especially.
Right.
So that's what I did. I started
And
hanging
they
out.
probably wouldn't agree with you when you have that discussion with them, right?
No, they'll have to agree because I can give them scientific proof of everything I'm saying and
Right.
what they're doing wrong. Oh man, I can make them cry. I can make doctors cry because I spent a lot of money. I was spending 32,000 Indian rupees. That's about 375 US dollars every day on my treatment, and I lost all my money doing this. And then I had to start from scratch again. But fortunately for me, I've never stayed poor more than a few months, and it just starts filling up. It's as if there's a river of wealth flowing because I carry Lakshmi on my shoulder, and
Right.
I carry Vishnu on his shoulder. So there's always money. Lakshmi is the goddess of wealth and
Yes, I
prosperity.
know.
Yeah, you know, right?
I do
Great.
know, but the audience might not, so it's good to tell them.
Yeah, so I'm always carrying her on my shoulder. So I've never had money problems ever. I don't know how to be poor.
That's excellent.
So yeah, so that's what was going on. So I would just start a podcast then, and then make $10,000 that month
Right.
from selling some programs. So I kept selling some program or the other, but I wasn't allowed to teach yoga. So I was just teaching health, fitness, health. That's all I could do. But I was getting so bored. I was like, when am I going to teach the real stuff? And
Right.
then it happened finally. And
Yes.
yeah, after 3 years of getting distracted by trying to build a team and finally
What
doing some
about
stuff.
what about your girlfriend with cancer? Did you heal her?
Oh yeah, of course I did.
Okay.
I healed. And then I broke up. So I'm like, that's it. I'm like, no more girlfriends. And then I had another girlfriend by that evening. To go and I said in 2022, I said, no more girlfriends. And I've kept my word. So it's been 3 years, no girlfriend, very happy.
Okay. So back to the other subject. So it's 2022. The temples and the mosques and everything's have shut down. No one is
Yeah.
praying to God. So now you know you have your sign that you can teach yoga, right?
Yeah, that was 2020.
2020. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was in Pondicherry at the time, enjoying some good beach life. I had become the beach yogi, and I was also enjoying some excellent health after a long time. And I started healing faster. Then I met a Siddha Guru as well, a Tamil Siddha Guru.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's a different tradition from the Himalayan tradition from which I come.
Okay.
And it's from Agastya. And Agastya
What
is
is Agastya? That's a place?
Agastya is the name of a rishi, the saint or whatever you call it, the seer who founded the Tamil Siddha system.
Okay.
And it's very different from the Himalayan Siddha system.
Okay. How is it different?
It's different in terms that it's very simple because Tamil is a very simple language with very little consonants, very few consonants. It's only got 26 letters.
So one system is simpler than the other, you say?
Yeah. The Tamil system is very simple and you can get effects very fast, but I'm still learning it. I'm not authorized to teach. But my guru is very happy with me. He said sometime this year he'd let me to teach that.
Wow.
So I said, okay, cool. I'm looking forward to teach that and be part of that lineage as well. It's a very interesting lineage. Miraculous lineage. People do all sorts of miraculous things.
Wow. Well, I'm looking forward to learning a few things from you.
Oh yeah, for sure. I have courses, so you can learn.
Okay. So so the different the Siddha yoga in the two different cultures, the Tamil and what was the other one?
The other one is the Himalayan one.
Himalayan one, okay.
Yeah.
And
So these are the two ones.
Okay, and the Tamil one is simpler, but have you learned the Himalayan one as well, or you're still learning?
Yes. Yes, I have.
Okay.
I have. I'm authorized to teach that. I'm an Adhikari, Parampara Adhikari. So lineage authority, I can teach
So
anything
your
from that
father was
lineage.
in the lineage too?
My father was in another lineage. My father and Sadhguru both went to the same guru called Mahesh Yogi for some time.
Okay.
And so my father was friends with Sadhguru and he was also friends with Shri Ravi Shankar.
Shri Ravi Shankar, oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And those were the early days, the 70s and the 80s in Bangalore, where it was very different. And all of the guys who are now big gurus were just students back then.
Right.
So they would be accessible.
Yeah. So, yeah, like I would never be able to talk to you if you were a Satguru.
Yeah.
But, Satguru, true guru. Okay.
Well,
tell everyone a little bit about the course now. Tell everyone about what you teach, and tell everyone about, what offerings you have for anyone who wants to engage with you or learn from you.
I'm very selective about who I teach, so I'm really not looking for too many students.
Okay.
But I'd like to teach people who want to help other people, who want to teach, who want to go ahead and help alleviate the suffering and pain that they see around them.
Okay.
And do something about it. And also be ready to give up entitlement and work honestly to get results.
Right. And so this world that we're living in right now, this chaotic world we're living in, do you see like it getting so bad that we won't have a hope?
There's always hope,
There's always hope, yeah.
It's never over till it's over. So
but it still implies it's going to be over.
Look, you have three choices. You can either be a hero, or you can be you can just be a victim, or you can be a villain.
Yeah.
You're deliberately evil. You want to do deliberate evil things, and that's okay too. So there are only three roles. You have to pick one.
Right.
If you don't pick one, you become a victim by default. If you don't pick one, you become a victim by default. So otherwise, you fight on the side of good or you fight on the side of evil. Both are okay. If you're on the side of evil, I'll fight you.
Well, it's just if there's only good and evil if you're living in a dualistic world, right? There is no good or evil.
There's three. There's the neutral people who are victims. They're neither good nor bad. They just go wherever. There's two polarities always, right?
Yes. Well, there's a trinity.
The power is in the polarity. It's not in the middle.
Right.
There's two concentrations of power, the negative and the positive. And then there's a flow and an exchange, but one can't exist without the other. What would I do without all the evil people? Why would I be needed?
Right. Well, we need it, right? We need the negative and the positive polarity. Otherwise,
we do.
We even need it for our own magnetism and,
what am I going to fight if there's no negativity? I don't know. I'd be unemployed.
True. So let's talk about something specific now. Let's talk about the Hanuman Chalisa. And I haven't read or I haven't watched the series yet that you teach on it. But can you talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it was written by Goswami Tulsidas.
Okay.
Who was an incarnation of Valmiki. So, well, what happened when he was Valmiki, for those who don't know, Goswami Tulsidas was an incarnation of Valmiki, and Valmiki is the writer of the Ramayana.
Yes.
When Valmiki heard that Hanuman had written the Ramayana, he'd scratched it with nails on a mountain inside a cave or something like that, on rocks.
Yes.
He had scratched it with his nail on rocks. He wanted to read it. So he went desperately looking for Hanuman and found him. And Hanuman said, "Oh, Valmiki, you should read my Ramayana. I wrote a Ramayana too." And when he read it, he started crying. He said, "Nobody will read my Ramayana now." He said, "Really? I don't want that." And then he threw all those rocks into the sea. And he said, No, you don't worry. And then he said, "What kind of selfless person are you? And I feel so horrible for making you throw away this literary masterpiece.
Yes.
And I want to repay this in some way. Bless me." He said, "Bless me. Come to me, teach me about Ram the way that you see him, and let me write the Ramayana again in another birth. I just want to take another birth." And Valmiki killed himself, and he was born as Goswami Tulsidas during the time of Akbar.
Right.
In India. He was born in, the Emperor Akbar.
Akbar, yeah. Shah Jahan's
So that's
Akbar is
Shah
Shah
Jahan's
Jahan's
father. That's
father,
right.
right? Yeah. Father or
Yes, I think it was
grandfather?
Shah Jahan's. Humayun's son was Akbar. Akbar's son was Shah Jahan. There was a Jahangir in the middle. Who's Jahangir? So at this time, Tulsidas started writing poetry in Sanskrit, and it just didn't work. Nobody wanted to read it. And then he got an inner voice to write in Awadhi and Braj, which were the local languages spoken by people at the time. It was like Hindi. They were the precursors of Hindi. So he wrote Hanuman Chalisa in Awadhi in Akbar's jail. And how did he end up in Akbar's jail?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how did he get there?
Because Tulsidas was walking one day in Varanasi, and then he saw a lady, and she said namaste to him, and he said, bless you with a long married life. And she said, what are you saying, Swami? Because my husband is dead, and we're just taking we're taking his body to be burnt. And everybody looked at the body, and the guy sat up. The dead guy sat up, and he said, where are you taking me? And said, we're taking you to cremate you. So, but I'm not dead. Then they said, indeed you're not. And so they let him down. And then the news of this spread to Akbar, that this guy just blessed a woman that may you have a long married life, and her husband came back alive. He said, I'll call that guy. I want to see him. So Akbar forcibly brought Tulsidas to Fatehpur Sikri, where he was ruling at the time. That was his capital. And then Tulsidas said, look, I'm an ordinary guy. I just blessed the woman. The guy got up. I don't know what's happening. I'm really sorry. I can't repeat any of these miracles. And can you just let me go? Because I wanted to write more books.
Right.
So he said, no way you're going anywhere. You're going to sit in jail till you show me a miracle. And so he threw him in jail.
That's how he ended up there. Okay.
And that's how he ended up in jail. And then he said, can I have something to write? And then he wrote the Hanuman Chalisa, and he started reading it. He wrote it in one day, and he read it for 40 days. And on the 40th day of him reading the Hanuman Chalisa, Fatehpur Sikri was overtaken with langurs, a kind of monkey.
Yeah, monkey, yeah.
And the langurs went to everybody's house and caused chaos.
Kind of metaphor for Hanuman.
Yeah. Hanuman is a langur, right? Like Vanar. He's a monkey too.
Yeah.
So these monkeys got into the emperor's harem.
Yes.
Got into his harem and started throwing everything around, scratched all his concubines. And he was like, my God, what am I going to do? And then his advisor, his spiritual advisor said, look, emperor, you've thrown that spiritual man into the jail. Why don't you let him go?
Yeah.
And when the moment he let him go, all the monkeys retreated and they left.
Wow.
And Akbar's concubines were so scared to stay there, and he had to move his capital to Aghora from there. So that's what happened.
That's what happened.
Anyway, so that's the story of Tulsidas, and he wrote Hanuman Chalisa, and those were the circumstances under which the Hanuman Chalisa was written. It was written in jail, and it's considered a mantra that can take you out of your sufferings.
Right.
And if you really chant it with a lot of devotion, and there are lots of secrets in it, even though it's written in very simple language. There are a lot of secrets which I have been revealing on a podcast.
Yes.
A 4-episode podcast. Yeah.
It's my next endeavor. It's my next endeavor to listen to that podcast. But anytime you recite a mantra, there's things happening, because mantra is frequency, and when you're reciting something from your body, from your mouth, and you're sounding it, you're creating a vibration. And so it must have some kind of effect on all your chakras, right? On your chakras.
So we understand that the earth is a mandala of 3 different layers. Okay. The earth itself, the core of the earth is made of bhuta, the elements, 5 elements.
Okay.
Like sky,
earth,
which
water,
is space,
wind, fire.
Earth, water, wind, fire. So that's the core, bhuloka or bhumi. The word bhumi comes from the word bhuta, which means element, made up of elements.
I thought bhut was ghost.
Bhut is ghost. Bhut also means past. It means many things.
Okay.
In Sanskrit. So the second world is called Bhuvar Loka, which is the world of light.
Okay.
It's a world that exists within our world, but it's completely it doesn't follow the rules of the elements. Like it's got its own rules. It's energy. It's light.
Would that be comparable?
Electromagnetism.
Would that be comparable to the astral world then?
Yeah, maybe. But we call it the world of light, and it is electromagnetism as well. There's a visible frequency of it, visible range, and most of it is invisible.
Okay.
It's not visible to the human eye unless you train it. If you train it, you can see it. Even a mosquito can see ultraviolet light, and so can I. I've trained my eyes by staring at the sun for long. So I used to sit in the mountains and stare at the sun from the time it rose to the time it went down the other mountain.
Right.
So I would look at it all through.
Wow.
And that would be enough food. I didn't need to eat on those days. I would just absorb sunlight from my eyes. And then I started to get glimpses. Then I started to get glimpses of the Bhuvar Loka. Because from that day, I've been able to see ultraviolet light.
Okay.
And
So when you
I
say
can also see
ultraviolet,
infrared.
when you say ultraviolet light, are you referring to auras or seeing auras, or is that the same
Yeah,
thing,
they
or?
look like auras. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But also what the mosquitoes see when they find you in the dark.
Okay.
Because they see the radiation from your body. Wherever you leak energy, we leak energy as extremely low frequency ultraviolet light. It's called ELF UV.
Yes. Okay.
So when somebody's liver is not okay, his liver leaks ELF UV. When his brain is not okay, the brain leaks ELF UV. Typically, people who are obese leak ELF UV from their liver, and I can see it. So most people leak energy.
Okay.
Because of various things, various internal conflicts. So they leak energy. So that's the light. That's the Bhuvar Loka. And then there's the world of sound, which is called Swar Loka. And that's another world of subtle sounds. And we start by meditation, listening to them. And we use mantras as seeds of sound energy to create more sound energy. By planting sound energy inside a field of sound energy, we create even more sound energy. So there are beings that are made of sound. There are beings that are made of light. They have consciousness. They can communicate with you.
Well, like
this is common knowledge in yoga.
The Quran mentions jinn, for example, the fire beings. They're made out of fire.
Yeah.
Right. So.
Yeah. Yes. So jinns would be inhabitants of the Bhuvar Loka.
Right. Right. So okay. So there's 14.
And I think Islam
lokas,
also
right?
talks about 7 heavens.
Yes, it
Beg your
does.
pardon?
Yes, it does. It talks about 7 heavens.
Yes, same with us. We've got like 7 lokas.
Yeah, 7 above worlds. And 7 below. So that's 14, right? 7 above, 7 below. It's 14.
That's 14, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Earth is considered one of the.
Yes.
Earth is one of the lokas too. So it's increased. It's included in the 7 above.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so there's the. So what about the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom? They're not lokas. They're part of Earth, right?
They're part of Earth, yeah. And then they also have a light component. They also have a sound component.
Okay.
Even we do. We have a frequency inside, a light component and a sound component. So and we need to be very careful with these subtle bodies.
Right. So like, anything we wear, metal we wear, that interacts with us, right? The crystals we wear, they interact with us.
Yeah. So I just wear fabric that is completely naturally dyed,
Yes.
I don't wear harsh chemicals or anything like that. This is just natural organic fabric dyed with natural dyes, like the way we used to do it in the olden days. And I don't wear slippers when I walk outside. I walk barefoot.
Right. So you ground better then.
I'm always grounded, yeah.
So you mentioned quantum physics and you studied quantum physics, and then so did you get into the physical body or the spiritual body in quantum physics? Like, did you do that research on your own?
It's called quantum biology. It's you'll be surprised. You know how the brain knows what's happening in the liver?
Yeah. Wow.
Do you know
How?
No, not through nerves, not through nerves. It's much faster. It's by a process called quantum entanglement.
Yes, I understand.
So maybe a molecule of oxygen would break out and ionize, and one electron from there would reach the liver, and that would tell the brain what's happening in the liver.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
understand quantum entanglement.
we're doing a lot of quantum entanglement within our body as communication, but everybody thinks communication is only through nerves. It's
Right.
not.
We do quantum
It's
entanglement.
wireless.
We do quantum.
It's beyond wireless. It's beyond Wi-Fi.
It's beyond Wi-Fi. Yes, it is. But quantum
Yeah.
entanglement can happen in between two individuals, or a deceased individual and a
It
living
happens
individual.
between two particles. It
Yes.
happens between two particles,
Yes.
and it's very unlikely that a particle from your body would be in their body.
It's very
But it
unlikely.
can happen. It can only happen during sex, I guess. It can happen.
So,
you can
so wait a
put-
minute. Let's just talk about people who have passed over then just a little bit. And your ability to communicate with them. So I know this ability exists, obviously. So isn't that a form of quantum entanglement then?
That's a function of consciousness, I would think. So consciousness is of three types: waking consciousness, dream consciousness, and thinking or imagination.
Yeah,
which is the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these are the three consciousness. So if I imagine an elephant running at me, I don't run. But if I dream that an elephant is running at me, I want to run. I start running.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Because there's both dream and wakeful states are real for us.
Well,
we consider them
when
real
you
states.
imagine the elephant running towards you, you are in a different state of consciousness, and your imaginal state is a different state of consciousness. But when you're in the dream world, you're concurrently in a dream consciousness, dream state of consciousness, right?
Yes, yes. The elephant seems very real.
Yeah. Correct.
You can tell the difference always between a dream and wakeful reality. You can always tell the difference.
Yes.
But it's very subtle. If you notice very subtly, there's this kind of waviness about dreams.
Well, I learned to
and we
lucid
need to
dream.
master it.
I learned to lucid
We
dream.
learn to lucid dream?
Yeah, I learned to lucid dream, so I know how to. I've studied a lot of metaphysics, and I've read a lot of religious texts, and I've meditate, and my faith encourages meditation. In fact, I have to go meditate at 3 a.m. So we're at 20 minutes to 3 a.m. now. So, you know, there's little experiences I've had, and the experiences I've had with other souls and people on the other side as well. Every day it's evolving. You know, life is so beautiful, life is so amazing, even in the most saddest, most traumatic experience, there's so much beauty, right? So there's so much to learn about life and individuals you interact with in your life, and every single person you ever met is so important to your journey, right?
I agree entirely. I think everyone is a universe.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'm running out of questions. Do you have anything
I'm actually starting a channel. It's called Understanding Death.
Oh, wow.
It's yeah. I'm featured in the channel. It's started by my student Shweta.
Okay.
And we're getting into all these topics, so I'm sure you'll love it. I'll send you a link when it's ready.
Please, and I'd love to joint venture with you. I have an idea, so I'll reach out to you and see maybe if we can do something together, because I do some work and in the quantum physics realm, I guess you could say, and maybe we can do with some joint venturing that way. The other project I want to take on is some kind of event where we research after death communication, not near death communication, but after death communication, because many people have after death communication experiences, and I think that's a realm that hasn't really been really delved into as much as it could. So I have some ideas, and so I think it'll be exciting to do some joint venturing together.
Sure, let's see how it goes.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you for joining us. And I'll share the links and everything with our audience so that they can find you as well.
Great.
Okay.
Sounds good. Sounds
Thank
wonderful.
you. It was lovely meeting you.
Thank you, Sharis.